Buongiorno, beautiful beings, and welcome to another fun episode of the TB podcast. This week's episode brought to you by DOOFTUBE, where you can find all the latest videos from the fun going on around Melbourne, plus some of our favourite old festival highlights. Check out our DOOFTUBE YouTube channel and also DOOFTUBE Live on Instagram so you can see where we're at out and about and the parties that you should not be missing. Also brought to you by trentoff.com, where you can find all the images and pictures from this episode that we refer to in our little favourite game of show and tell, plus links to all the fun that we discuss in this episode and events coming up soon. Now, let's get to it. One thing that please remind me to keep doing this is we would like to show our respects to the native custodians of this land, the Bunwurrung people, and also to the Dja Dja Wurrung of Bendigo. Big thank you to Jarden Williams, who helped us make sure that information's all accurate and correct and our pronunciations are right. And we would like to, with this and all of our events going forward, acknowledge the native owners of this land because we are very lucky to be here and we love sharing the values and the spirits of those that were here before us, as well as try to set a great example for those that are going to be lucky enough to be here in the future. Before we get into it, this episode also brought to you by our good friends at Bush Techno, Recovery Collective and Euphoria Berserk as they present one of my favourite artists from the last couple of years. Maxim Dark is playing at 24 Moons on October 11. Maxim Dark's on Senso Sounds. He's got some awesome tracks with some latest release just come out, including Thrills, Bastille. Check us out on Kiss FM, actually, our live stream for Perspective After Dark on the episode of October the 3rd. Features half an hour of us presenting the best my favourite Maxim Dark tracks. So everyone can jump online, Maxim Dark, search it on Facebook. The tickets are still available. That is Friday, October 11 at 24 Moons. You are in for some beautiful techno. This is one you don't want to miss. And thank you guys for supporting the show. There we were, our favourite producer and my Kiss FM co-host for Perspective After Dark Thursday nights from 8:30 to 10 for those who like the live stream. But there he was, Julian, absolutely smashing it out, playing his own tunes to a crowd of just good people. No iPhones in the air. Actually, I think I was the only one with the camera out for the set, and that was just to get some nice footage for him. But everyone just absolutely immersed by the vibe that he was pumping out there. And it was a very proud moment for us here at the podcast. And then to see him warm up, just nicely ease it into the OG, the legend, Liquid Soul, who were also very lucky enough actually at Hologram, thanks to Lev and the team. We had an interview with Liquid Soul, so watch out for that on DOOFTUBE in the coming weeks. That man has more #1 releases on Beatport in the Psytrance category than anyone of all time. So to get to pick his brain for about 10 minutes was an awesome experience, and I think you guys will really enjoy that one. Probably not as much as we enjoyed it on the dance floor though, so well done to Julian. On Saturday night. His latest release, Abstract Mind, is also available on Beatport, so check that one out. Thanks to Joel and the team at MyAN for having us along. So we hope everyone had as much fun on the long weekend as we did here at the TB podcast. Enough about us. Let's get to this one. This is a very special podcast here with an OG, an absolute techno legend of the Melbourne Underground. Well, without further ado, let's chuck it to our favourite PA announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, making his way to the mic, 5'8", from Billanook College and the Chisholm Institute of Taste. He is also known as the Acapella King, Nick Tahl Hamilton. Welcome to the podcast.
What up?
It is a cool spring afternoon here in Saint Kilda East. We've got Tahl. He's got his black leather jacket on. What black t-shirt? What do you got on the t-shirt there? Rick and Morty? Rick and Morty. What's it got underneath there? Primitive.
Yeah, Primitive.
Oh, there we go. And you're rocking a Melbourne camo hat. Yeah. People can see pictures of Trent and Tahl on trentoff.com. Tahl, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. For those that don't know, Tahl has also been a resident at places such as Killing Time. The Breakfast Club is where most people would know you from now. Revolver also.
Yep. Revolver in its early days.
Yep. First things first, how did you get the name Tahl? Tahl.
It's getting a bit of use out of my middle name.
Okay.
It's my middle name.
Oh, that is just your middle name?
It's literally just my middle name.
Oh, cool.
It was going to be my first name, but
Yep.
my folks thought that I might get a little bit too much shit in primary school, so they decided to call me Nick, which kind of worked against me because it kind of there's a million things that you can
rhyme with Nick.
That kids used to love to say. So I probably could have used Tahl in the first, but I'm almost at the stage where I wouldn't mind to drop Nick, but
So we'll call you Tahl?
Yeah. Call me Tahl.
Cool. Well, you can find Tahl, for those playing along at home, on SoundCloud and also on Instagram, TAHL. We've seen you at awesome festivals such as Rainbow, Subsonic, Esoteric. But let's go right back and start from the start. We're also going to play our little show and tell game, which I'm not sure if you've heard of other podcasts, where we will put some images on the screen.
Yep.
And throughout we'll get your, reaction or thoughts to some of the things. But I guess let's start from the start. How did you get into music and DJing? I hear you're a bit of a metalhead.
Yeah, I was a mosh pit fanatic, bit of a stage diver and a speaker block climber.
Yep.
I lost my front 2 teeth watching Korn at the Big Day Out back in the 90s.
Yep.
And it was pretty much like the year that Limp Bizkit were supposed to play at the Big Day Out, and a girl died in the Sydney gig.
Yep.
I was dressed as Fred Durst. So Limp Bizkit were my go-to sort of like band at the time.
Yep.
And because they didn't play, the mates that I was there with, we were like, we should go and check out this guy named Carl Cox in the boiler room. Right. And we walked into the boiler room as 3 sort of metalheads, and then we walked out of the boiler room with covered in glow sticks, visors, no tops, and with an obsession about shuffling. And then watching at the end of his set, Carl Cox turn the music off and scold a Vic Bitter.
Yeah, all right.
And we were just like, me and my mate, a guy named Scott Fagan, who DJ'd under the name Fagan. Mm-hmm. We then were obsessed.
Yep. So what year was that? It was about 98?
That was like 99, 2000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And pretty much then from there, Fagan bought a set of turntables which we shared for about a year or so. Mm-hmm. And then we were doing sort of like house parties and the like and all that sort of stuff, and I actually rode off my GTS Skyline.
Was that your first car?
Yeah, it was my second car, but it was a car that everyone told me not to get because I couldn't get insurance for it, and I was like, oh, I'll just get it because it's my dream car. Yeah. And 2 years later I rode it off in an accident where I got kind of screwed over by the insurance company. Yeah. And they didn't. I lost a lot of money, but they gave me a certain amount of money for the wreck. Yep. And instead of paying off my loan, I went out and bought turntables and about $5,000 worth of records. Yep, as you do. And when I bought my turntables for about a year, I'd mix in the morning before work, and then I'd come straight home after work, maybe sometimes come home at lunchtime, mix at lunchtime.
So what job were you working?
I was doing graphic design at this stage, so professional graphic design for a place called the Promotions Factory. Mm-hmm. And I'd actually, after work, I'd get home and mix until my roommates had enough. Mm-hmm. And I would take off either the needle or the weight for the tone arm. Yeah. And I'd rest that on my pillow, and I'd go to sleep staring at it. Yep. And I'd wake up looking at it, and I'd grab it, wake up in the morning and just start mixing again.
So
I did that.
You're mixing in your dreams?
Yeah, I solidly did that for almost a year,
Yeah, wow. So like literally, like, I guess, dreaming about what you...
I was obsessed. I'd always been into music, always, like I did a bit of singing in metal bands for a while, But then, due to smoking and not actually knowing how to sing properly, I lost my voice pretty quickly because I was screaming, doing that sort of rah, rah, rah sort of metal stuff. And so I always knew I wanted to do something to do with music, but I found the instruments like guitar and drums and all that sort of stuff. I was never patient enough to get past the when you're shit stage. Yeah. If you know what I mean. And so pretty much the one and only instrument that I learned how to use was turntables.
Yep.
Yeah. But it wasn't until me and Fagan threw a whole series of parties called Relax at what is now Storyville. But before that, it was Wawa Lounge. Before that, it was TFU. When I was running parties there, it was called Club Cartel. And that was in the early 2000s. And we were running really, packed out parties. We were doing doing things like making ice sculptures out of our logo and having that at the front. Yeah. For the people in the line and serving shots of Jaeger through the ice sculpture to people.
Surely we've got some photos of this we can drum up somewhere.
Well, not really, because it was before social media, it was before digital photos. So there might be a few
Polaroids floating around.
Maybe, but not that I can find. Yeah. Because in those days, we were just lost in the actual. It was to play music to a bunch of people and have people put their hands in the air was the first time I played. I was addicted. But I didn't actually ever see it as an art until I was taken to Revolver and I saw Boogs play for the first time. Okay,
so before we get to when you saw Boogs play for the first time, when was the first gig that you actually played in front of people? Was it a house party?
No, it was at me and Fagan ran our own party at the college lawn. It was like we just ran one out the back.
In Paran?
In Paran.
Yep.
I think that was like maybe that was like year 2000 or something, around year 2000, 2001. And then after that, once we threw that party, it was a real success. And then I was doing a bit of graphic design and promoting work for a clothing company called Neo Tokyo. Okay. And they just so happened to they were the people behind Club Cartel. And they had one night opening, like it was around the Christmas time. Yeah. And me and Fagan threw a party and it was sold out, huge lines. And from there we ran monthly parties for almost 2 years.
Right, so how many, what's the capacity there? How many were we getting in? A couple hundred or?
No, it was maybe 300. Yeah, 300 people. And we'd finish in the morning. Yep. Our closing time was about 8 a.m, but we'd keep it going right through till 10 a.m, right till the sun came up through the windows. And it was real hands in the air sort of time of Melbourne as well. It was like, and we were doing things like one of our biggest influences at that stage was a guy named Seth, who was Fagan's babysitter, but he was actually a DJ who used to play at the Belfast parties and the hardware parties. Yeah. And we were doing things like putting on nights where we'd get Seth to play 60 records in 60 minutes. Right. So he'd be, he was mixing techno, but he was mixing it as if he was playing hip hop. So he had all his markers on the turntables and stuff. Yep. And we were working with MCs at that stage as well. We were working with an MC called MC Blue, she used to rap and sing over the top of me and Fagan DJing. And we were playing breaks at that stage. Like we were obsessed with breakbeat. Yeah. Because we came from like that rock and roll background / hip hop. Yeah. But then we loved techno music, but we didn't really want to play techno.
And you can see on your SoundCloud, one of your latest mixes up there is a breakbeat mix.
Yeah. I've gone back to my roots in some ways.
Yeah, fantastic. Two things actually that we normally do at the start of an episode that I've skipped. Well, actually, one thing we normally do at the end is offer up a gift. But for you, I thought you might have wanted to have some of this throughout the episode, but up to you if you do or not. But I know you're a fan of one of these bad boys.
Oh, Fireball. Awesome. I'll get stuck into that.
So we can get stuck into that throughout the show if you want. I don't know about you. I can get you a glass if you want.
I don't need a glass.
You use the lid?
No, I don't. I'll just have it straight out of the bottle. Right, so anyone that knows me knows that if I get a bottle of this, I'm happy. So.
Well, we're not sponsored by Fireball, but we've got Tahl happy already. In it goes. 3 quick questions. When's your birthday?
27th of April, 79.
Birthplace?
Birthplace is the Upper Ferntree Gully.
Upper Ferntree Gully?
Yeah, that was the hospital, but I was born and raised in Sherbrooke.
Yep.
I often tell people it's Belgrave because not many people know where Sherbrooke is because it was a town that didn't even have a milk bar.
Yeah.
I had to walk out of Sherbrooke to get to the milk bar to buy my mum smokes and all that sort of stuff back in the early 90s when I was old enough to walk.
When kids could buy your mum smokes and you just go up with a note, smokes for mum.
Yeah, pretty much, Pretty much a note from mum.
Yep.
And I'd pinch a couple out of them and take them to...
Yeah, well, that's the fee for doing the walk, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And who's the best rapper of all time?
Oh, jeez, that's like...
Or your favourites?
There'd be a few. Like, I mean,
come on, these are quick questions, mate.
Easy-E, like NWA, the whole group of them.
All right. So, well, we'll get to that actually now, if you like.
Oh, I'd have to say Eminem as well. You know.
All right. This is a clip from you playing on your birthday.
Yeah, this is my 40th birthday.
At Brekkie Club.
At Brekkie Club, yeah.
Yeah, so that's you playing a bit of NWA there. We'll put that clip up on the...
I also played that at in my market stage set as well.
Yes, you did?
Yep.
We'll put a clip of that up on trentoff.com.
Yep.
And on the Facebooks.
Pardon, excuse the French, but I believe in the song. So.
You probably should share the fireball over this way whilst Julian gets up the first picture of our show and tell game.
Yep.
You want a peek? Maybe. All right, so let's go back to the start. Well, Brekkie Club last night was rocking.
Yep.
But to get to Brekkie Club, here's our first picture.
Yeah, this is Blue Bar Sundays.
Right, now, I did put out to a few people about things that I should ask you about.
Yep.
And Blue Bar was one of the first ones that came up, actually.
Yeah,
so,
Blue Bar was a big... me and a guy DJ named Rowie ran Blue Bar Sundays for almost 6 years.
Right. So when did that start?
I think that was around mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006 maybe.
Yep.
And we did that right through till sort of 2010, 2011. But then we moved from that, and that photo there is the guy on the mic is an MC that worked with me for 4 or 5 years. His name is Dr. Sponk.
Dr. Sponk?
Yep. And he was an MC for drum and bass parties, and I met him at a party that I was helping out with where Fagan was a resident called Beats Working.
Yep.
Which was a breakbeat party with Hans DC, MC Direct, Oblivious, who I'm working with a little bit now again, which I'm lucky to, Scott Rod and Fagan, and a couple of one of the directors moved away, so I was included, and I met Sponk one night and we gelled, and he then MC'd with me all over Melbourne Lounge. And
so you play instrumentals and he's just freestyling over the top, basically?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was like sort of electro dirty sort of stuff, and he'd have original rhymes.
Yeah. So what are some of the big tracks back then that you're playing?
I was playing did
it have its anthems?
No More Conversations by Milo.
Yep.
Geez, it's hard to think back then. It was back on vinyl back then, so it was like.
Do you remember your first vinyl that you ever bought?
I don't remember the first. Oh, actually, yeah, I do. It was "Come With Me" by Alex Kidd, I think.
Yeah.
Is that one? But the first vinyl that I ever chased and paid a lot of money for was a track that Boogs played at Honky Tonks back in the day, called "Come Over to My Place" by Joshua. Mm-hmm. And it was a really rare record, and I found I can't remember the DJ that bought it off, but I ended up paying $70 for a record for that.
Yeah, right.
To actually, and it took me months of hassling him to actually for him to give it over to me.
Yeah.
But when I got it, I rinsed that track. So.
All right, so onto the next picture. Let's get into the good stuff.
Yeah, right.
All right, the thing that people want to hear. This place.
All right, so this is Revolver before the cage, before anything, when the booth was behind a bull bar from a truck.
Yep, and there you are with a former podcast guest, Mr. Musker.
Yep.
Who's doing something you can't do these days and just smashing a durry behind the decks.
Yeah, that was back in the days when you could smoke in Revolver and you used to walk out with this black sort of sludge on you that wasn't really a substance really known to man, but it was a combination of a few hundred people's sweat and cigarettes
tobacco
that turned into black sludge that used.
Sometimes those couches...
It's almost like there was literal tar.
Yeah, you still get a bit of sludge off the couches sometimes when you come back.
I think that's reminiscent of back that's still hanging around from the smoking days. Yeah.
Just the aura of the... Yeah. So, okay, tell us about how you got your start at Revolver, because originally Boogs was pretty much the only man allowed to touch the decks.
Yeah,
but
so
if he couldn't play, you were the backup.
Yeah, I filled in a few times for him when it was back on vinyl, and I was honoured to do that. And that was Boogs and I became. Anyone that knows me knows that almost my entire inspiration. Boogs made me a better person as a human being. He's not just the best DJ that I've ever seen, including all internationals, including every tour that I've ever seen. Any international, Boogs has got them in the bag.
Yep.
But as a human being, Boogs is probably one of the best human beings that I've ever met in my entire life. He's one of the most genuine people. He pays attention when you talk to him. And for somebody that is as close to a superstar that Melbourne's ever had.
Yep.
He's the most humble human being that I've ever met.
Which in this scene, it's a very hard thing to see.
Really, really, really rare. Yeah. And even to this day, he's as humble as I first met him. And for me, not just to have, I still get starstruck when I speak to him, even though he's been one of my best friends for 15 years, 16 years. I still am starstruck by him because he's a magician. Yeah. But as a human being, he made me a better human being. He toned me down because I came from a background of moshing, and I came from a background of going out and drinking and getting in pub brawls and all that sort of stuff. And he just showed me that none of that really mattered. It was everything was about the music, and everything was about creating. Like what he and I discussed, and what I always call getting the plates moving. So if you go back to on vinyl and you've got the record plates moving, you can actually get a crowd, an entire room or entire crowd at a festival swaying to the circle moment, the circle of the turntables. And that, if you get all sort of trippy and, all that sort of stuff, that's like the plates of the earth moving.
Yeah, the frequencies of the universe are all in sequence.
It's really sacred sort of stuff,
Yeah.
And there aren't many people, a lot of people DJ for, I hate to say it, like an ego-based reason to DJ, but I've never in my life met somebody that DJs more for the right reasons than Boogs. He's obsessed.
Is that just with trying to move people?
Well, trying to move people, but he's also obsessed with music. I swear he's part robot or something, or part alien or something, because he's an absolute freak, He's a freak with any sort of musical instrument he touches, anything to do with production, anything to do, I'm just hanging for the first track he releases,
Yep. Okay, so when did you first meet Boogs then?
I'd say probably 2004, 2005. The girl that I was dating, who was a lot older than me, I was still going out and getting into trouble on King Street and all that sort of stuff, and DJing, not for the wrong reasons, but DJing and loving the after parties a little bit too much and stuff. But I would ring my girlfriend at the time on a Sunday, and in the background just would be like chaos. It'd be like people screaming and music blaring, and I'd be like, where are you? Like, where are you? And all she kept saying to me, her name was Rachel, and all she kept saying to me is like, you're not ready. You're not ready.
Yeah.
And then after a while, after dating her, she's like, okay, meet me at my place on Sunday morning. And we went to, and she walked me into Revolver, and I think I almost came to tears when I walked in and saw Boogs playing for the first time, because I walked in and he was playing some sort of electro track with Michael Jackson a cappella over the top. People were standing on the tables, and it was, there was bikies in one corner, there were transvestites in another, and it was all industry based back then, so it was like, and there was no social media, there was no cameras or anything, so if you didn't see it, it didn't happen, know, so you got away with murder. And it just so happened that Rachel was really good friends with Boogs.
Yeah, right.
And she introduced me to him, and from there I pretty much was just a fanboy and followed Boogs around. So I stopped going out to the King Street places. I'd start off with my friends, and then I'd drift away and pretty much just end up at wherever he was playing and sitting in the corner. And it was one night at the Crofts Institute. I was sitting at the back, and he noticed me, and he said, like, oh, you've been coming to a few of my gigs and stuff. And I said, yeah, I'm getting into DJing. You're the man,
Yeah.
And as humble as he is, and even back at those days, he said, well, come up on stage with me and sit there. If you like any track that I play, just let me know, and I'll give you. And he would pass me the record, and so I'd be able to write it down. And
oh, sick.
And that was so
you probably just write down every one.
pretty much every single one.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first times where I realised that there was just no ego with that guy, and I like to think of myself as a humble person as well, but that's stemmed a lot from basing myself on someone that I looked up to so much that I called a friend,
So, and I guess based on that, how would you describe your mixing style?
Well, my mixing style is completely based on his.
Yep.
Which is also based on Detroit mixing, which is the idea of putting two tracks together to make a third sound. So layering and key mixing and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I have to do key mixing by actually working out my keys, but Boogs does it naturally.
Yeah.
Another reason why he's such a freak.
Yeah.
But pretty much my style of DJing is based on sitting in the cage and watching Boogs every single Sunday morning. One year I went to Revolver for 36 weeks in a row out of the 52 of the year.
Have you got a membership out of that?
I've had a membership there for almost 15 years.
Yep. How have you seen the place evolve, I guess, over... I mean, I don't know if you noticed up here, but we've got the last 4 or 5 years of the people that have played at Revs.
Yeah, Revs is Revs. Revs is like... It's like the club in Melbourne that internationals asked to play at, and that almost solely is to do, like, I won't say solely because Spacey Space is a huge part of Revolver as well. Yep. And back in the old days, a DJ named Agent 86 used to warm up for Boogs. And I also got to know Agent 86 Nigel really well, and he was like he was another example of, and Spacey and Luke McD, they're all examples of great humans and doing and DJing for the right reasons, not for glory or stardom or anything like that. Yep. They're there because they love what they do.
Yep. Yeah. Well, here's another picture which I think features a few of those.
Yeah, so that's mine and Roey's party, and another guy named Chris who ran Fractured. Yep. We were doing the Blue Bar Sundays, and then we thought we'd do a monthly themed party. Yep. And yeah, Bamboozle was really, really successful.
Yeah. So where was that hosted? Was that at the same venue, or did you take that around?
No, we had them at Banana Alley, the Platform 1. Yep. Down in Flinders Street, in those the levels. Tubes. Yeah. In the tubes. Yep. And we would get maybe 300 to 400 people, complete, just punters. Yeah. Dressing up. You know,
so always a different theme.
Yeah, and always a different theme, but it was a rip-off of like 80s like MASH and Saved by the Bell and
I saw a few different flies when I was going through the archives of all those old movies,
But it was the ones that we did, like the Bamboozle family and the horror-themed ones, that we had really amazing turnouts of people dressing up. You know, and me and Rowie would get a friend of mine named Georgie who did special effects makeup for movies and stuff, and so we would get like proper cuts and scars, and we'd get stopped on the street on the way to the gig going like, are you all right? Do you need to go to do you need to go to hospital and stuff? But you know, it was like we played up to it. There were some really good parties. That's, you know, in that photo, that's Luke McD, Boogs and Sunshine in the middle, Hans DC, and myself and Rowie.
Did you do the artwork for these?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't do them.
But some people that don't know, you do have your own design company.
Yeah, I do. I do Tahl Design.
And your background's in graphic design. Tahl Design, they can look up your website. I've been told by a lot of people I need to pull my finger out a little bit with that because I don't actually have a website. Right. I've been doing artwork for the scene for 15 or so years, but I've been that focused on music and DJing that I haven't actually ever put my stuff up in one place. So, so that in the coming months there will be a site. So if someone needs some graphic design work done, they can hit you up on the Facebook.
Just hit me up on Facebook.
Hit me up on Facebook. No worries. Well, we've mentioned Boogs. I guess he's probably one of obviously the main one that comes to mind as far as influences on your career.
Yeah.
Your dad's a chess player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he was an Australian chess champion in the 80s for a few years. He's still playing. He just finished a rapid Victorian competition where he won five games out of 7.
Right. Do you play?
Yeah, I can play.
I was almost going to have a chessboard here and have a try and play while we talk, but I can hardly multitask while I hold the microphone. So
I'm much too impatient to play chess. So I can play, but I definitely don't have the patience that my old man does. You know,
and what sort of influence did, I guess, your family, your parents have on your career starting out or along the way?
My mum taught me how to dance almost as soon as I could walk, you know, and made it really clear that music was a really, really special thing. We've always had music in the house.
Yeah, well, what sort of things did they have you listening to?
Like Dire Straits, Bob Dylan, that sort of stuff, the Beatles.
Sure.
But also, you know, like just that music meant a lot, you know. There's not really much, you can't really explain it, you know, like what music is and what it does to people, but...
any other big influences?
Oh, there's, you know, later in my career, and if we get later, you know, right around the sort of the time when I was doing a lot of work with Boogs and at Revolver and stuff, I met a guy named Musker.
Yep. Well, let's pop up the next picture there. There he is.
There he is. That's back at
that Brown Alley.
Yeah, that's at Brown Alley. Yeah,
in the courtyard.
Yeah, yep. I'm pretty happy with what he's doing there.
Yep. Loving it.
All right, that's Rainbow.
Yep.
That's the first year we all went to Rainbow.
Yep.
As a crew, and that's when we were running. Yeah, there we are.
Mixed Messages.
So that's Mixed Messages. Yeah, we started a party called Mixed Messages with another guy named Tavish, and Tavish got into a bit of trouble, so he couldn't continue the party.
Yep.
So Musker asked me to come on board to take his place.
Yep. And there's Basco. Also does Bush Techno. You designed that logo though, didn't you? The Bush Techno one?
Yeah, I designed that one.
Yep. And then, so I guess tell us a bit more about Mixed Messages.
So Mixed Messages was like just about an underground party there where me and Musker were putting on a whole heap of parties because we weren't getting booked enough. So we started throwing our own parties.
Yep.
And because, you know, if anyone that knows Musker knows that he's a visionary kind of guy. He's got bigger picture in his eyes.
Yep.
And we always wanted to be able to do our thing without having anybody else tell us how to do it.
Yep.
And, you know, in the early days they were really hard. We played to plenty of empty dance floors and all that sort of stuff, but we kept at it, and Mixed Messages is actually, making a bit of a resurgence. We're co-running a few parties coming up.
Awesome. You'll have to...
We've got one with Stanton Warriors and Plump DJs coming up. I'm doing the artwork for it at the moment.
Is the date locked in for that one yet?
I'd have to
find out.
Have to find out the date for that.
That's right. We'll get it and we'll chuck it up on the website.
Yep.
Musk is actually the one who said you are the acapella king. He said you'll put an acapella on anything.
Yeah, but I can. But I mean, there's a bit of a funny story with an acapella I used to play a little bit too much.
Which one?
Which was the acapella of Whoomp There It Is. And that was one of the acapellas that I actually learnt how to use acapellas with, because it was a really traditional 4/4 beat and actually had an easy flow to it, and it was really easy to make an acapella work. You need to really know the words of what you're playing to make it swing with the track.
Yeah.
And I was DJing at La Liga one time, and I played that acapella, and my best mate and biggest influence, Boogs, had enough. He walked up on stage and ejected the CD that had the acapella on it while it was playing. And he snapped the CD and threw it into the crowd, and he said, "That's enough." And I've never played the acapella ever since. So that was a big lesson as well, that I was just, I used to have a few fallbacks in terms of like what I would play to get the crowd moving. But that guy in that photo just there is another great friend of mine and somebody who I've worked with a huge amount. That's Logan Baker.
Yep.
He's based in New Zealand now, but he was based in Melbourne for quite a while. And he's somebody that, he helped build Killing Time into what it is. Mm-hmm. He worked a lot with Cam, but I met him at Revolver. A lot of the people that I work with and that I became really close with, I met at Revolver.
Yep.
But Logan Baker's, that's us playing at Subsonic.
Awesome.
On the Paradiso stage.
Yep. We will get to Killing Time shortly, but whilst we were just talking about mixed messages and Musker, one quote that I did have from him was, "Tahl has been booked at almost every single event he's put on due to the consistency of your music." He said, "You used to always bring the crowd and you're one of the best DJs Melbourne's ever seen." And he said, and Musker said that his party survived on the back of your music.
Well, that's super kind of him. And I thank him for that, but it wasn't just to do. It was, I as soon as I met Musker, I knew that I wanted to be a part of what he wanted to do.
Yep.
As I said, he was a bit of a visionary, and he had his ideas and what he wants to do in a bigger picture in terms of healing the scene in the right way. I 100% believed in.
Yeah.
And so, as much as if he says it was a lot to do with me, how his party survived, it wasn't just that. It was the structure and the ideas that he put in place.
The vision,
yeah.
And I think you still see that now when you see things like him at the Bush Techno stage at Esoteric and the Organic Audio events. And
they're just amazing. They are. A good example of that is when he did an Organic Audio stage at Babylon one of the first years, and the stage was so good that Carl Cox actually wanted to cancel his set on the main stage and play on our stage.
That was in the pit.
Yeah. And to his testament, Musker said no.
Yeah.
The locals only.
Yeah.
And Musker and I have also been real avid believers that the Melbourne scene has enough local talent in it that we don't even really need internationals.
Yeah, especially events like the Doofs that have been coming up. Yep.
And so I've got nothing but love for Musker. I think I've always said that he's exactly a big part of what the scene needs.
Yeah.
They needed somebody like that as a driving force behind local talent.
Yeah. And I think he shares the same sentiments back at you. So it was nice to have such kind words from someone who's been so influential in the scene.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick break.